Greetings, technology enthusiasts. I am Chandrahas and I am delighted to be here with you representing CyberBrainer. Do you not believe that the technology sector is advancing at an unprecedented rate, making this an opportune moment to acquire the skills that will facilitate your progress? With CyberBrainer, we are empowering you to take control of your own future. At CyberBrainer, we do not merely impart your interests. We assert that information is power, yet it is the application of knowledge that distinguishes you. Our courses are meant to equip you with essential skills, whether you are pursuing data science, understanding artificial intelligence, or delving into cybersecurity. Let us commence the session and seize the future today. Thank you.
Integration notifications we discussed on Friday. Integration notification. Let me just do a recap of exactly it looks like. Basically, if you have any integration, for example, last day we were discussing IN 1001. Let me open NT1CC begin. Here, if you go to the related action, this is a related action. Here, if you go in integration system, you will be able to see one option, configure integration notification. When you click on this configure integration notification, then here it will ask you like on which status you want to generate the notification. If you want to generate notification on launch, we have one option. If you want to generate status on multiple integration status, you will be having these many options. For this, you need to choose what are all the integration status where you want to configure notification. And then if you want to trigger that notification for one security group, for example, HR admin integration admin. There are many admin security groups we have. You can configure that thing. If you want to add any specific user for the integration notification, you can add specific users as well. Here you can add the user's email address. For example, if you want to trigger notification on Lakshmi's email address, you can just mention Lakshmi at the rate of whatever email address your company is using. And in the message, basically there are two things in the message. Whenever you send email or trigger anything, there will be subject and there will be body. You can design your own subject here by clicking add here. You can just use multiple fields or the string if you want to. If you want to write a particular string, you will be able to write that particular string in this text field. If you want to use any calculated field or any field from this system, you will be able to use this external field. Similarly, you will be able to design integration notification body by clicking on this plus option. If you want to add the integration attachments, you will be having here attachment option. You can use all these options to create a notification template and whatever notification configuration you will do here. For example, email address, security group integration will notify accordingly. This is integration notification. Now the next thing we have is the next thing we have is business process. Business process you can understand as a step-by-step instructions. Step-by-step instructions. When I say step-by-step instructions, what does that mean? It means basically you will define what should happen in a step 1, what should happen in a step 2, what should happen in step 3, and now the thing is, why do we need this? You know why do we need business process in the integrations? Why do we need is? The reason is, let's say you created integration in 2001. When you created integration, this integration is going to generate file. This is example of odd bond. Let's say you have created in Salon 1 odd bond. This integration will generate file. Once this integration generate file, what exactly you want to do this file? Basically, when integration generate file, we need to deliver that file to one particular location as well. There we would need to configure delivery where exactly that file should be delivered. To configure this delivery, there is no default option in integration. When you see the EIP, in EIP we have default option for delivery, but in core connector integration, studio integrations, there will not be any default option for delivery. What you will do here is to configure delivery, you need to define business process step. Here you need to define business process step and there you are going to configure the delivery. This is for outbound. Now let's say you are creating another integration inbound. Inbound means this integration is going to load data in the file. Load data in Workday. Basically this integration is going to consume data from one file which will be located somewhere and then only process. In outbound integration, what is happening? Integration is processing, here integration processing, and after processing, integration is generating file. But when we talk about inbound here, the data from other file will be processed in Workday. Before integration processing a start, it will need the file. Here we would need to define one business process, define business process step, and here we are going to configure retrieval. Then integration will process update data in Workday. In outbound, integration is going to process first. In processing, only file will be generated. Once the file will be generated, file will be delivered to the specified location which we are going to configure. But in terms of inbound, before integration process, we would need the file because that file is only having the data which needs to be processed. Do you understand or do you have any confusion in this one or bond inbound? It's pretty much simple. Basically, you understood now when the file will be generated, when it should be delivered, when the file should be retrieved and all those things. Now, after this comes up, integration business process, how exactly we can define integration. Integration business process. As I mentioned, business process is step-by-step instructions. The same applies for integration also. Integration business process is also a step-by-step instructions. If I'll show you two integration. 1B. Let me open one outbound. Let's say what is this? Now let me create a new one and show you. If I create a new integration, let's say I have created one custom report which is web service enabled. In EIB, when report is web service enabled, you will be able to use that report in creating EIB. For example, here I'm just giving Ganesh patch to first EIB outbound. I clicked on outbound as I want to create outbound integration. Here, if you see, this is a general settings. This is integration name and integration. ID comment whatever you want to give the comment engine. In general comment section should include what exactly is the purpose of this integration? That is something depends on each and every integration. Now, when you click on Next, it will ask for the get data. Get data, that means it is asking for the source. Here you will be able to see two data source type. We will come to this how exactly what are the data types and what are the data source type and all. Let's say I'm choosing custom report in custom report. I'm just giving one of my advanced report. Whatever web service enabled reports are, you will be able to see only those reports. If there is a report which is not enabled as a web service and you're trying to find that report in creating EIB, you will not be able to find that. Always whenever you create report and when you are creating one EIB on top of that, if you're not able to see that report, the first thing you need to check is whether the report is web service enabled or not. If the report is not web service enabled, then you need to enable that report as a web service. Let's say I'm pulling this Ganesh first report. Click Next. This transformation we will talk in some time. I'm just clicking on Next. Hey delivery, see in EIB what happens. We have one default method, one default step where delivery we need to configure. Here you can configure delivery directly by selecting. If you want to just create, if you want to just run the integration and generate file, you just pick Workday attachment. But let's say if there is one SFTP folder on or one HTTPA server where you need to place the file. Accordingly, you need to select. For example, let's say we have to place one file on SFTP server. Here in delivery method, you just select SFTP and you will get all the relevant options for that SFTP. Here, if you see, I have selected the SFTP server here. Now it is asking for FTP UL. It is asking for the directory where exactly you want to place the file. This is something like this is your home. You are going to one home. This will be your room. Exactly in that home, in which room you want to place that thing. Here, this is a directory. Then you have multiple authentication method for SFTP. See all these configurations. Depends on the option you have chosen in delivery method. When you choose FTP, then you will be having these many options. And this is a general delivery method. Most of the companies are using SFTP. Now let's say you have some HTTPs URL. Then you can just select HTTPs. And here you will get all the options which you need to configure. For HTTP, you need to configure HTTP address web service invocation type. There will be multiple options here, basic code, no security or 2.2, and then user ID and password. Now, when you see this, don't get scared. Like you know this how exactly I'm going to configure this thing. Who is going to provide? See, the thing is, whenever you join any company, whatever service they will be using for storing files, whether it is HTTPs or whether it's a delivery SFTP, whatever thing they are using, they will provide you all these informations. They will provide you the address details. They will provide you the folder structure. They will provide you user ID and password. Everything they will provide you. Then you need to just configure those things here in the delivery method. You will come in situation. Some of the situation like this, you are creating a new integration. They ask you to place file on SFTP folder. But in SFTP, they have the server, but they have not created one folder for one particular vendor. There, you won't need to coordinate with the SFTP team, and they will create folders accordingly. They will share the SFTP address, directory, user ID and password. You just need to configure that in your system, in your integration. Basically, what I wanted to show you from this is how we configure delivery in EEP. Now, I'm just opening and I'm just closing this. I'm not saving this. Now the other integrations, for example, Core Connector or Studio, we are not going to discuss, but the steps are same in Core Connector and Studio. Let me open any CCU integration. Let's say this one. This one. In this one, see, you will not be able to find any option where, any place where you configure the delivery. See here. If you see, you can see integration attributes, map security here, some of the services, but you won't be able to see any place where you can configure the delivery. If you go to the related action in related action, also if you go to integration system, you will not be able to find any option to configure delivery. Then in that case, when this integration will generate the file, how can we deliver that file to the SFTP server or the any server wherever company is asking for or the vendor is asking for? How can you do that? In this case, basically we configure integration business process. In this condition, we will configure the integration business process. As of now, there is no integration business process because by default, integration contains two steps of the business process. The one step is initiation. First step, second step is fire integration. These two steps are by default associated with any integration. Even if business process is not configured, if you launch this integration, you will be able to generate files. But you will not be able to deliver files. Now, if you need to deliver files generated by this integration, how exactly you will do that? For that we have a mechanism, integration business process. To create that integration business process, what we will do is we will go to the related action. There it is a related action. Just go to the related action. Then go to business process. In business process, you will see create copy or link definition. Create copy or link definition. Before I do that, let me show you this part. Here if you see, you are having just three options: integration attributes, integration maps and security. When you will create, there will be just two options: integration attributes, integration maps, how the security came. That is something we will discuss later, but here if you see, there is no tab for any business process. Now I am creating one business process for this integration. Click on related action, go to business process, create copy or link definition. When you click on create copy or link definition, here you will get the options to create a business process. I don't want to use any of the existing definition. I don't want to copy any existing definition. I want to create a new business process definition for this integration. When this option will pop up, if you want to create simply a new business process for this integration, you don't need to do anything in this pop-up. You just select. Here none of the API option is selected anyway. You just need to click the option. When you will click, it will ask, this is a business process. When you click on, the business process has been generated for this integration. In this business process, if you see, there are two steps. The first step is A. This is the order of the integration. That means you define the order using like this one, only A, B, C, D, something like that, or A, B, 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 A, B, C, something kind of. You can define the order in that way. Here, when I created this business process, by default, it has generated two steps. The first step is initiation. The second step is fire integration. I'm just clicking on at this point of time. When I clicked on C, there are just two steps: initiation and then fire integration service. There is no delivery. Now, if I need to configure delivery, then I need to add one more step where we can configure the delivery. What I can do is I can just go to the related action of this business process. In this business process, go to business process here, edit definition. There is one option, edit definition. Click on this edit definition. Click the time zone and the effective date. When it is, it will be applicable here. Click on this add option. Just click on this add option. When I clicked on this add, a new row has been created. In this new row, I'll see the order of execution is C because this is for my outbound integration. In outbound integration, the first step will be initiation. Second step will be fire integration because integration file will be generated only once this integration is triggered. The fire integration is at correct place here only. Once this integration is fired and generated file, then only we would need to configure the delivery. I will create a new step here, step secret. Then in first step C, you need to go to the type. In type, when you will select, you will see a lot of options. Action approval. Approval chain batch job checklist report integration review document service to do. There are many options. You need to choose relevant options. For integration, there are two relevant options. One is this integration itself. Let's say after running this integration, you want to execute another integration. You want to execute another integration. In that case, you just choose integration as an option here and then you will configure the integration later. You just choose the option integration here and just click on. Now you need to configure that the delivery or retrieval, the two things which will be helpful in the integration and which is relevant to integration. Those are integration and service. Integration will be used when you need to configure another integration on top of this integration, and the another is service. Service means when you need to configure the document retrieval and document delivery. At this point of time, we are discussing the document delivery. I'm going to use service. I choose service. Now, after choosing the service, there is another thing specified. Here you need to specify which service exactly you want to use. When you click on this one, then you will get all the services and you need to choose the service which you want to configure here. Here you can see create case. You know APX, I don't know what is APX and all. Fire integration orchestration service, secure credit card or bond. This is something we are not going to use. Mostly we are going to use document delivery and document retrieval. As we need to deliver document to the third-party system, what we are going to do is we will choose the document delivery. Once you choose the document delivery, you don't need to enter anything. You just click on. When you will click on, you will see another option. See earlier. There were just two steps, initiation and fire integration. Now you can see there is one option of document delivery. Now this, when I added this document delivery, it started giving me error. Why this? This has started giving me error. Let us check that. When you click on error, the instructions will be very clear. Here it is saying workflow step triggers document delivery event service but has not been configured. What it is saying? It is saying you have added the delivery step but you did not configure the delivery. you have added the delivery step, document delivery step, but you have not configured the document delivery. Exactly. Now what you need to do is you need to configure that document delivery. To configure document delivery, see here one button has been generated, that is configure document. When you go there, see automatically that is becoming blank. This is a button. Now, when you click on this document delivery again, it will ask you like from which effective date you want to implement this. Let's say I want to implement this by today. Anyways, you will not be able to do anything. You know anything? Back data. Let's say if you're trying to choose 19th of June, let's say when you click on, it will give you error, business process or something which you cannot configure or edit with backdated effective date. Here you can either give future dated effective date or you can give today's date. Here the effective date is 19th I have given and this has given me error. Now I'll give today's date. Today is 24th June. Click on. When I clicked on, it is giving me the options where we can configure the delivery. Here you can see the delivery attempts. If you want to know, delivery attempts, and in transport type again, you can choose the methods. This transport type is nothing but delivery method which we have seen in the EIB. Here, if you select, see there are options, right? AS to email, FTP, LSTP, SFTP. These are the options we have in the delivery. Let's say if you are choosing FTP, then again all the options will be changed. See, all the options have been changed here. Now it is asking for the SFTP address directory. Then it is asking for the authentication method. And then it is asking to add any kind of encryption. If you want to do, and then click. This is how you are going to configure the document delivery. The main thing which I wanted to show you is the business process. How can we create business integration, business processes? I hope you are clear how exactly you can create this delivery and retrieval. We are going to configure again. See, we don't have any SFTP folder ready, that I cannot show you how exactly that can be configured. And I cannot show you that folder as well, like how exactly you can see bias there. But I'll show you how exactly you will configure the SFTP delivery method. What are the requirements for that? If someone is reaching out to configure the delivery, what are the questions you should ask before you configure anything? We will talk about that, but the main thing which I wanted to show you is how to create a integration business process. I hope you are clear with this. Do you have any question? All good. Now I have one question for you. Anyone can answer. Let me frame my question that this card. Now see for this one. The another thing before I ask that question, see here. One observation here, when we did not create business process, there was just free tabs, integration attributes, integration maps and security. Now you are having another tab, business process definitions. When you will click on business process definition, you will be having this business process definition. To configure or to view the business process definitions, you can click on this link. I'm opening this link in a new tab. Here is the business process which we have created. Now, if you want to configure, you will be able to configure. If you want to just view the business process configurator, for example, this delivery, let's say there is one integration in which delivery is already configured and you just want to see what details are being configured in that delivery. You don't want to configure that. You can just click on this magnifying glass and it will show you the configuration. Now the question is, this is something I have done for outbound. Can anyone tell me, in case of outbound, what would be the business process step? What would be the step A? What would be the B and what would be the C? Question again, please. In case of outbound integration, I have created one document delivery step in business process. That is a step C. When we will talk about the inbound integration, what should be the steps? I mean, what should be the step A? What should be a step B? What should be step C? First step A is the business process. We need to create the first business process. File integration B. I mean, see first, not first business. First of all, we are going to create just one business process for one integration. There won't be any multiple business process. In business process, there will be multiple steps. Now, in those steps, what will be the A? Do you think the initiation will be the same? Integration initiation. This is just to initiate, integration. This is like, someone is knocking at your door. The person has not entered in your home, is just the person is knocking at your door. That is initiation step. I think initialization is important for both the cases, inbound and outbound, because without initialization, how can we define? That's correct. Then the step B. For outbound, we are sending data for inbound. We need the data. We need to get it from outside, right? First is initialization. And if you are doing for the inbound, we need to get the approval like locations and all. I think documents, where to get the documents. That step will be the second. And third thing is like to when the locations, everything is done, then we can do the fire integration, I think. That's correct actually. That's what I wanted to, let you know guys as well. Basically in terms of outbound integration, and you're right. Knocking will happen in both the integration type, whether it's inbound integration or outbound integration, the intimation should happen. I mean that intimation should happen like we need to. We are going to trigger this integration once the integration is triggered. Then we know we will configure whether integration is generating file or integration need that file. In case of outbound integration, integration is going to generate file first. Then only we are going to deliver that file to that folder. In case of outbound, we will configure the fire integration first and then we will configure the document delivery. But when we will work on the inbound integration, the file will be important to fire integration. Basically, we will modify step B. In step B, we will configure the document retrieval. And then in step C, we will do the fire integration. Any question here? Now the another thing is C. Now you understood the file, the document delivery and document retrieval, the business process. Now what you need to do going forward is say you need to configure document delivery and you would need to configure document retrieval. When you will join any project, then you don't need to remember anything. You can just go and click here. You will be able to see all the options, what options you have for delivery, what options you have for retrieval. But when you will give me any kind of interviews or project interviews in that way, in those interviews, they are going to ask some of the questions from here. And you need to remember all those things. Basically, what are all those questions and how exactly you're going to answer. See, the first main important things here is how many default delivery attempts. There are 3 default delivery attempts. What are the transport type we have in integration? Just note it down in EIP and in core connector. Just note down all this transport type. This is important. They can ask you how many transport type we have in any integration. You need to remember all these transport types. We have a Mason, simple storage. We have AS2, we have email, FTP, FPSX, else FTP, and then they are to ask you which is the most frequent transport type used. That FTP. Here, most of the companies are using SFTP for delivery method. Now, then they will ask you when you select as FTP, what exactly you configure there. Here you configure the SFTP address directory and then the authentication method. Then again in authentication method, which authentication method you are going to use. You have 3 authentication method here. 3 authentication method, as in this authentication method, as in let's say you are entering into your home, you went to office, nobody's at your home. You just locked your home and went to office. Now when you come back, how exactly you enter in your home? Are you using your key to enter in your home or are you breaking your window to enter in your home? There could be multiple ways. Some people used to not break the window, but they have some other ways to enter their home as well. Basically, this is something like that. You have multiple options here. Either you want to use the key to enter in your home or you want some other authentication method. Let's say, you have created some other way as well. There is one front door. There is one back door. For back door to enter from back door, you are having separate mechanism. To enter from front door, you are having separate mechanism. Basically, you need to select authentication method. Here we have free authentication method. One is username and password. It's just like you're trying to log in any Facebook account. You just give the username and password. You just logged into that. Then you have SH authentication. In SS authentication, you will be having user ID. You will be having user ID for everything. In SSH authentication, you will be having user ID, but it will ask you for a key pair. Key pair as in, you can understand in this way. Let's say, you are trying to do some kind of illegal activities and you are just transacting money. What you are doing to identify the person, let's say someone needs to collect the money. To identify that person, what you have created is you have one, let's say 1 rupee note. And you just, did 2 half, 2 half of that 1 rupee note. You kept 1 half with yourself and you just delivered another half to someone else. Now the clause is whoever wants to collect the money there. That person should be having that half of the note. That is kind of SSH authentication. In this case, what happened? There are 2 keys. One key cannot open the locks here. There will be 2 keys. You just have given the username. Then you are having one key stored in your system and you have given another key. When the other person enters that key here in the SSH authentication key pair, When the other person enter that key, then it will be unlocked. Both the keys are used, are used in opening the lock. For this case, basically that is SSH authentication here in username password. You will simply be having username and password in SSH authentication. You will be having user ID, but there will be a key. Key will be configured separately. I'll let you know how exactly the keys and all will be configured. And then you will be having dual authentication. Let's say you want to secure your home in more better way. You want the key or you want to pass the key as well, and you want to pass the password also. There you are going to use dual authentication. The key pair is also required and the password is also required. This is dual authentication. Anyways, we know we will talk about later. From interview perspective, you need to remember all the delivery method. Whatever we have in Workday, then how exactly we can configure, not all. If they will ask you like with delivery method you have used most frequently, you can say SFTP. In SFTP, they are going to ask you like what address, how exactly you configure the address, how exactly you configured that the directory, what are the authentication method you have used when you are configuring the document delivery. Remember all these things. Once you configure the delivery, let's say I'm configuring one delivery. Let's say there is one FTP folder, say ftp:/abc.xyz. FTP URLs are like this one on sft:/ab.xyz. Here directory. I'm saying like under A there is one folder A, then another folder B. And in user, I'm just using username and password as authentication method. And I mentioned the username as, let's say, a Workday, and then password as, let's say, any password. I'm just using. I don't have any details. I'm just using anything just to show you one more feature. I configured this thing here in the restricted to. This is important. Whenever you are configuring the delivery and retrieval, always mentioned like that delivery, and that delivery is actually for which tenant. That delivery and retrieval is actually for this, for which tenant. When I'm saying tenant, that means when you will click on this, that will show you sandbox tenant, production tenant, implementation tenant. This is something, I'll let you know what this means. I'm just mentioning implementation tenant. Click to. Awesome. From this integration business process only. And as my username like this, while ever text be may. These are not real user, ID and password. This is just a dummy. Then restricted to, I'm just mentioning implementation. Click. When you will click on, your delivery is configured. Now this delivery is configured for this integration. I'm just opening this integration again. This is the integration for which we have configured the delivery, the business process. Now let's say whatever you have configured here. For example, here I have configured sep://abcget/a/b. This is something I have configured. Now I want to test this connectivity. See, I have configured, but I don't know whether this is working or not. I don't know whether the server is up and running or not. I want to test this. There is another option we have in integration related action here. But if you go to the related action, if you go to the integration, earlier there was just one option, launch schedule. Now there are two options. There is one option, test transport. Using this test transport mechanism, you will be able to understand whether that CEFT server is up and running, or this Workday is able to connect to that CEFP server or not. Then if there is any files on that folder you want to place, then you will be able to understand all those things. I'm just clicking on test transport, and test transport, whatever server CEFP server I have configured it is shown here. Click. Here you are having options. If you want to test the connectivity with the server, this is another server Workday's, a different location. Workday is a different system. If you want to test the connectivity between Workday and that CEFP server, you will be having one option of connect here. You just select this connect click, and it will try to connect to this server. Currently, this will not deliver any files. This will not do anything. This will. This is just like you have. Someone is trying one key to your home. That key is correct or not. That is something this is evaluating. Anyways, in this case, see, that is happening. You are just trying one key in your door. That key is correct or not. That is something this is evaluating. This test transport is evaluating. This is taking much of time. There are two reasons. One is our tenant is very slow. Another is connecting to this integration is trying to connect to one CEFP server which doesn't exist. Basically, tenant is having that difficulty to just test the server, but anyways it will give you unsuccessful only. That is something we will wait. The other options here you can see is list files and deliver files. In this integration, we have configured only to deliver files, not to retrieve files. That is why retrieve file option is disabled. Retrieve file option is disabled, but if you want to deliver file, you can select deliver files. If you want to know like what are all those files present on that folder in CEFP server, you can just select the option list files. You will be able to see all the files which is there on that CEFTIP folder in that particular server. Let's let this complete. Any question you have in this integration business process? Here I'm just mentioning in terms of outbound. The configuration will be initiation, then fire integration. Basically in this way it's service, fire integration, integration, and then service. Service, 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 service delivery. In case of outbound, in bound, you will be having initiation. Then service document retrieval, and then service fire integration. Then after this, you will be having another option, test transport. Test transport. You can go to the integration system related action. Integration related action, Go to the integration system in integration system. You can go to not in integration system. Here in the integration, you will be having option of test transport. This is how you are going to test the transport. Whatever you have configured is correctly working or not. In general, when you will configure in any project, this won't take that much of time. Don't worry about that, but you know anywhere, let this complete. This is the integration business process. The next thing which we have is integration sequence generator, or let's say only sequence generator. In sequence generators, basically you configure the dynamic file, and let's say you are generating one file employee xv, and see every day you are sending employee xv. It's very difficult to track which file you have sent on which particular day, which file you have sent. It is very difficult to track. In general, what we do is we generate file in such a way that date is also aligned. Basically, let's say I'm just mentioning dmemi.xv. If integration is running today, it will generate the file as 24. 224. When integration will run tomorrow, it will generate employee underscore 2d56 says every day you want to generate a different file which is having the date as a dynamic parameters. In this case also, let's say if you are generating multiple files on one particular day, here you want to add sequence as well. One or two, let's say on 25, 2 files will be generated. You want to generate the sequence. You can generate the sequence in this way as well. Or every day, you are adding the sequence on 2024 when the file is generated. You want to generate the first sequence. Then on 25th, when the first file will be generated, second sequences, this will be the third sequence. Then on next day, when the another file will be generated. You want that as a sequence number 4. If you want to configure file name in this way, then there are two options. The first option is in EIB. In EIB, no, I'm just stopping this. This is unnecessarily taking a lot of time. Now to generate sequence generator for EIB, we have one task. You can just search for create sequence generator. The task is create a definition sequence generator. You can note it down. The task is create ID definition sequence generator. You just click on that. It will ask for some name. Let's say I'm just giving 1001 Ganesh patch to sequencer. Whatever name you want to give here, you just mentioned. Increase the sequence ID by 1. Padding format. Padding format means, let's say, the file format which you are generating, you want some specific number of characters. Let's say in this way, you have mentioned the file name should be having 20 characters. And today, when the file is generated, it is having only 19 characters. Basic 20 characters means here $1, 1002, then $3. Basically, the sequence should be with 3 paddings. Now, the first day when the sequence is generated, it just give 1.crv, not the only in this way. The file name is not meeting the length criteria. What it will do is it will just add some characters. That's what it is. That's what we can configure, as we'll show you how it looks like. Then the sequence ID format. The sequence ID format is, let's say, employee. Then I wanted it DMA white. If you're not sure how to frame that DDYYMM, then what you can do is you can just click your mouse, just not click. You can just keep your mouse pointer over this block, text block, and you will be having all the options. Example with examples. Now I want to generate in DDMM my while. Here, if you see, the single D represents the D. A small d represents the D. A cap D represents the D, and I'm not sure what it is equal to 2 to 64. That is something I'm not sure, I need to check. Then if you are giving E, then it will give the D of that particular date. Basically today is 24th of June. Then whatever day is 24th of June, if you give E, then you will be able to see. Let us try, some of this example. Here I have to give D. What you need to do is just add one square bracket. For each and every type, you need to add a square bracket. For example, if you want to extract day for day, there should be one square bracket for month. There will be another square bracket, open and closer, for year. There will be another square bracket, open and closer, for sequencer, another square bracket, open and closer. It's like this one. DD, then again, I'm just mentioning MM, then YY. Dot. Now I want to say like how exactly the file will be generated. When you enter this thing, you just click somewhere else. This text block, click somewhere else. Let's say I'm clicking here outside. When you will click outside here, the example will be generated. This is how your file will be look like. This is how your file will look like. Now if you want to hear, if you see 2437, only one Dinesh you put to Dish. I think that's why. But again M, where is M? Oh, so M is, that's why 23 is coming. I need to use cap. Sorry for that. Let me use cap. When I added cap and see, this is the date format I'm looking for. 6/20/24. Why I have added double D? The reason is this one. Basically, let's say 1st of June. If you add single day, it will generate like 1/06/2024. If you add double D, it will generate 01/06/2024. I want this consistent length. That is why I have added double D. Now here, if you want to add sequence, then what you can do is, let's say I'm adding underscore sequence. Again a square bracket. You just mention sequence. Close the square bracket. Click outside bar. You will be able to see the sequence. Now let's say in sequence I am adding not 0 less of 4. What it will do is just see the example here. There is just 1 0. Now when I clicked on it, there is 4 0. It added, by default 0. Basically, the purpose of this padding is to generate the number of characters which you have given in this padding. I mean, if this sequence should be 4 character, this sequence would be 8 character. That is something you are defining in this padding. I'm just giving 0 by default padding. I don't need any kind of padding here. Then here, if you want this to be generated instead of month 06, you want to generate as June. You can just add one more M and see the final name looks like 24th of June 2024. And then we know these are the normal settings which if you want to configure you can do time-based research settings. If you want to set any restart frequency, restart number, you will be able to do. Then last sequence ID. Let's say you want to start here. I have not defined any last sequence. Let's say when you will define the last signal, for example, let's say 101. This is the last sequence ID is. Then the next sequence will start after adding +1 here. If I unclick here, click outside, see it is starting from 101. Whatever last sequence you will mention here, it will start from there. If you give the increment ID by 2, it will simply add. I think you know that is something will not happen in this example, but anyways, this is how you configure the sequence generator. This is how you are going to configure the sequence generator and sequence generator in padding. If there's any padding, you will provide that padding, but the file name format which you need to generate, you will be configuring in this sequence ID format. Okay. Let me type again. The niche batch 1 sequence generator. One padding 0. Now click. This is how you are going to create sequence generator in, for EIPs. How exactly we can configure in EIPs? When you configure the document delivery, then it will ask for the sequence generators. Here in the integration system, if you go to edit this integration system, I'll let you know guys what are all these options, because the topic is outbound EIB only. But at this point of time, let me show how to use this sequence generator. Whatever sequence generator you have used when you will go in the delivery, if you go see, there is one option, sequence generator for file name. Here I can give the sequence generator which I have created. This is how we used to configure sequence generator in EIB. Now this is for EIB. Now for core connector. Let us see how can we configure for core connector. Let us open one SIGOP. Let's say this one only. Here in this core connector, there will be one service to configure integration sequence generator here. If you see, there is no integration sequence generator. What we will do, we will go to the related action of this integration. And related action, go to integration system, configure integration services. When you click on configure integration services, here you will be able to see one sequence generator, see core connector worker, file name sequence generator. Just click on this. Click. Now you will see one option to configure sequence generator. You can just go to integration related action, again go to integration system, and here in integration system one option is enabled, that is configure integration sequence generator. Now when you will click on this, the configuration will be same like we did before. Just now here I did in create ID definition sequence generator, right? Here also the configuration is same. You will get the similar set of thing, but there is the format is different. Again here, you can just mention the same increment sequence by 1. You can just give sequence ID format. If there's any padding required, you just configure the padding then. Here is sequence ID format. Here you can just define the sequence ID format. Let's say I'm just giving employee underscore edmyy.xml. Click outside and you will see the example here again like we did in, here in create ID definition sequence generator. Here also you can configure the sequence generator like this. Now you know if we can drag 10 more minutes. I'll cover one more topic. If anyone is having anything, just highlight now, otherwise I'll just proceed with completing that as well. Lakshmi, you are all good. I will leave, but I'll follow the video. I mean the recording session, audio session. No worries, Ganesh, you please continue. I mean this is something we can actually, that's a 10-minute thing we can do tomorrow as well. I mean that's a security part. I think when you will be here, that will be good. Anyways, I mean that's fine. Let's stop here only today. And we will talk about the encryption mechanism of what exactly encryption means, how exactly we do, and all tomorrow. That's fine. But whatever we have discussed as of now, if you have any question, anyone you can just ask and let us just discuss that. I have one question. Go on, Sally. We discuss about business process and integration business process. Like, can we do integration business process with EIB or it's only for the Cloud Connect connector? See, you will be having, you can configure in business process in EIB as well. But generally we don't do. Because the delivery and retrieval is by default option, you already have option to configure that right. Basically, you don't need business process basically. But if you go, let's say, let me open one EIB. I mean, in my entire life in Workday, I have never configured any business process for EIB. But there are ways, we can do that. Let me open one. Nope, because you use EIB for the normal just to showing that business process and that integration business where you show that core connector. That's why I just assume that it's for the core connector only. No, but that is a valid question to be honest. Basically, see, I'm not doing that. That's a different thing. But can we do that or not? That's a question. Let's see if we can do that or not. If you go to, this is the integration system EIB. This is IDB here. If you see, this EIB is a get data, transform data and delivery here. Let us just go to the related action. There you have business process. You have create, copy and link definition. You just click on this. I'm not sure who have created this integration. Maybe when that person will open, they will be surprised. Anyways, click on. You have one business process definition here. Just click on. Now again, which one I have opened this HLEI? Now let's see how it looks like. Here you have another tab for business process definition. And you can configure business process definition here as well. But here, if you need this one delivery and one retrieval, you don't need to create this business process definition. You can directly configure because you have direct option here, right? But in other integration system, you don't have options. Thank you. And now I'm going to not spend too much time in the Q&A. I'm going to go ahead and close the session. Please do like, share and subscribe to our channel.